Welcome to Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and a dash of hope collide nightly like a Trevor Story strikeout. We cover every loss, every meltdown, and yes, even the rare win, with brutally honest takes and zero front office fluff. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com or risk being left out in the cold like a home game in April. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans. Welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I'm your host, Jim Dalfino, and I'm the human equivalent of the Red Sox trying to hit with runners in scoring position. I come in with hope, leave with regret, and spend the rest of the night wondering why I even showed up. Joining me tonight is the perennial chatterbox himself, Nick Face. If talking were a war stat, Nick would be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Cooperstown would have to build an expansion wing just to store the transcripts of his rants. Give him a microphone and he'll explain in excruciating detail why Aroldis Chapman's post-strikeout stare is actually a coded message to Craig Breslow. So tonight we'll break down the latest episode of how the Red Sox torture their fans, sprinkle in some actual analysis, and maybe, just maybe, find a reason to believe this team won't make us all age in dog years by September. Let's get into it. Your Boston Red Sox are now 65-55. And sit 4 games behind idle Toronto. They remain in the second wild card position. Alex Bregman, in his big Houston homecoming, didn't waste any time reminding the crowd why they used to cheer for him. First pitch he sees, boom, Crawford boxes. Touching moment, really. Nothing says I miss you like a fastball eviction notice. The Fenway beer ad campaign basically paid for itself right there. But the Sox weren't having any sentimental garbage tonight. Roman Anthony showed up like the rookie who didn't get the memo that this team was supposed to fizzle out. 2 for 4, a 2-run blast, and a batting presence that makes half the lineup look like they're still in extended spring training. Abraham Toro chipped in with a solo shot, Connor Wong got in with an action with the sac fly, and Masataka Yoshida pinch hit an RBI just to rub salt in. Garrett Crochet, well, let's just say he got roughed up like a piñata at a kid's birthday party. 4 innings, 7 hits, traffic everywhere, pitches finding barrels like it was GPS guided. So that's your recap. And today we're going to have a whole new section, and I want to introduce you to our new show called Roster Roulette. That's right. Roster Roulette is the first thing that we're going to talk about on tonight's show. So let's start up with first, David Hamilton has been optioned to Worcester. Yeah, folks, the Sox finally decided to send him somewhere his bunting can't hurt anyone. I'm sure the Woo Sox will appreciate the free base clogging clinics. Maybe he'll find the strike zone, not to pitch, mind you, but to actually stand in when batting. The more uplifting news, if you consider marketing a craft beer uplifting, Alex Bregman now has Bregman's Beer at Fenway. Apparently, RBI and doubles weren't enough. He's now serving up pale ales brewed with bright citrus hops, a hint of pine, and just the right amount of bitterness to remind Sox fans of our October standings. I guess nothing pairs better with a bullpen meltdown than a Bregman brew. And finally, to fill the void, the Sox have called up Giovanni Moran and Ali Sanchez. Moran's a left-handed reliever because, God forbid, we don't add another guy to the bullpen roulette wheel. And Sanchez is a catcher, which is great because we can never have too many guys watching pass balls to go to the backstop. These two may not change the season, but hey, at least they're new names for us to complain about on Twitter. Nick, your reactions to tonight's frustrating loss yet again.
Hold on one sec, Jim.
We interrupt Nick's broadcast for some Tums.
Gotta chew it first to let it settle in. That's kind of how I feel right now.
Well, while you're digesting that, I'll get into my take on everything. So again, another frustrating Red Sox loss. You know, I question as to the Houston Astros were finding some ways to cheat in this ball game, Nick, because Crochet was shoving for the first 2 innings, and then all of a sudden, all hell broke apart. Now that you've digested your Tums, let me have your reaction.
All right, one more thing. Excuse me.
You got to jump out the window instead. That would be probably a bad thing.
Sorry, folks. I was just playing Russian roulette, the game the Red Sox play all season. All right, the fun of games are over. It's time to get serious now. Okay, I'm laughing, but I think people know my sarcasm and my wit. When I'm laughing, it's sometimes not a good thing. This was disgusting tonight. It started out great. Bregman with the 2-run shot to get the game started was awesome. But then Crochet came out, and it seemed fine for the first 2 innings. I thought the second inning, it was kind of trying to figure it out a little bit. But then the third inning hit, and we were going back and forth kind of in the chat as we do during the games. Something was off. I don't know. Was it one of those? Was it a button? I don't know. But those are the things that you have to think about when you play the Astros. Those are just the things that you have to think about. I put out a tweet. I don't think anything was done illegally from this. I don't. But I do think there was some sort of a gamesmanship kind of thing that was driven back to the Red Sox, because there was a little bit of back and forth with the Astros and Red Sox when they came to Fenway Park before. I think it was the third base coach got into it with, was it Fremel Valdez was on the mound, and they were trying to think that he was tipping pitches or something like that. So there is something that is going on here, and I think the Astros tonight got the last laugh. I think they dove into a little bit more on whether it was the iPad or whether it was something that they saw from Crochet. I don't know, Jim, if he was tipping pitches. I kept looking back and forth. I don't think he was. I think that they saw something, identified it on that iPad, did some sort of a signal out to their players or whatnot, and figured out something to get into his head and know what was coming. I mean, they were up there attacking. They were swing mode right away. They weren't guessing on anything. Everything that was there, they were ready, they were firing away, and we have not seen that at all. This is probably Crochet's worst start in a Red Sox uniform, but I don't think I can blame him for this. I think the Astros got something on their scouting report that they found that they could get to Crochet, and they did it. That's what happened. I give credit to the Red Sox lineup a bit. In the 7th inning, there were 2 outs. You had a Toro home run. That was great. Now go back to Worcester guy. I'm done. I still am. I don't care. That home run was just fine. Whatever. Yoshida pinch hitting. I was a little surprised with that. I was. You had Rafael on, and they pinched hit Navarez, which was interesting. Carlos Navarez, we should also talk about too. Yes, he's banged up, but he is not swinging the bat at all. So he's fair game to pinch hit in my eyes right now until he starts going as well, especially with 3 catchers that you have right now. And then Yoshida got the double down the line, drove in another run, and then Roman Anthony with the 2-run home run to give us all that false hope of promise that they can come back and do it. And in their typical fashion that we saw all first half, with 1 run lead, 1 run down or whatever it is, they just can't get out of their way and they lose again. And the other bad part here on the Red Sox front is you didn't even have Hader in this game. You didn't. So that's another thing. And Cora managing tonight, again, another questionable decision. You could have had Ref Snyder or something in certain situations. You didn't. A lot of questionable decisions again. And Jordan Hicks was the first guy out of the bullpen tonight. How was that, folks? 5-2? Now it's 7-2.
Yeah, I mean, look, that kind of irritated me too, and I just put it up on the list here. Did Cora give up on the game by bringing in Jordan Hicks? Just one of our viewers, Boston Maniacs podcast, said Alex Cora lost that game for the Red Sox by bringing in Jordan Hicks in the 5th inning. Terrible bullpen management. He gave up down 5-2, and we lose 7-6 because of Hicks in the 5th. He's absolutely right. Hicks gives up the home run. And as a result of that, you're chasing your tail and you just don't come back close enough. This is what irritates me about Alex Cora, Nick. I just can't. I've never liked him since I found out he was cheating. And I've said this before, a scarecrow could have won in 2018. So the reality is that I don't really think he's a good manager. I don't think he's a great bullpen manager, and I don't think he's a great extra innings manager. I think those are
Oh,
the
he's a
things. I think those are
terrible
the things where
extra
he has.
innings manager.
Yeah, I think those are his biggest flaws. And the other part tonight too that you didn't mention yet, and you probably will, you burned Garrett Whitlock tonight too now. So you're not going to have him probably for the rest of the series if you need him. So that's a concern as well. And, again, Boston Maniacs just kind of followed up and said that if Cora doesn't throw Hicks in the 5th, I think the Sox win. Just bad bullpen management. That and the Astros are natural born cheaters. Again, 100% accurate. I think they win that ball game too. I mean, they would have had maybe a 6-2, 6-3 victory in this one. So It always seems like they get in their way all the time, and that's a problem with this team. Moving right along, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things I mentioned earlier. And number one was David Hamilton getting optioned to Worcester. Maybe down there he'll learn the ancient art of not swinging at pitches in another zip code. We talked about this, I think, earlier this week on the podcast, Nick. Your reactions to the Hamilton demotion.
I threw a little party this afternoon. I'm sorry I didn't invite you, Jim. I'm sorry. I partied in the back of my kitchen in my cafe, and I had myself a nice little acai snack in my celebration of Hamilton being demoted back down to where he belongs, Worcesterville. I was very happy with that. But again, it comes with I was hoping that it could be a Christian Campbell. I was hoping it could be a Vaughn Grissom, or I would have even taken a Nick Sogar. I really would have. I would. That's just how I am right now. Or a Nate Eaton or something like that. You just brought up a pile of mediocrity is what I feel.
Yep, I agree with you, which parlays to my next quote here. So we replace a left-hander, Chris Murphy, with a left-hander, Giovanni Moran, or Moron is probably what it's going to be known.
Morons here.
Yeah,
Fits right in.
I'm purposely saying it to try to help the situation. And of course, Ali Aliax and Free Sanchez is called up as well because nothing screams season turnaround by importing two guys that casual fans will need to Google before the seventh inning stretch. Why do we need three catchers? Is just proof that there is an issue with Narvaez and they're going to just kind of cautiously watch Nick, or is just this,
Yeah.
a bunch of rearranging the deck chairs?
They don't know what they're gonna do with Navarez. They don't. That's what's going on here, and you're seeing a guy who's playing hurt. And I give him credit because you can tell he's a gamer and he cares and he wants to be out there. I get all that, but it comes with the point where you hurting the team in the long run because right now the swings you're seeing from him are just lethargic and just he looks like a crippled old man sometimes when he goes up to the plate, and you don't want to see that. That's just not Navarez of what we saw from May, June. So they're trying to manage the innings right here, Jim. This is what this is. So Alibaba is up along with Connor Woodoo and that's what you're gonna get. I don't understand the Moran move. I have to say that's the biggest one I don't get. Where is Bernardino? Where is Cooper Criswell? Where are those guys? Where are those guys who have performed up here at least that have done something positive for this team? We're gonna throw, no pun intended, we're gonna throw this moron into the bullpen and hope that he's what, not gonna be as worse as Jordan Hicks? Like, no, I'm all set with that. I'm all set.
I think the other concern that, you have to consider in this too is that tomorrow night, Tuesday, we've got, let's see, is it Dustin May?
It's
Yeah, Dustin
Dustin
May is on
tomorrow.
it's Dustin tomorrow. So what if you need a long reliever at this point? Now who do you turn to in that bullpen unless they make a move, earlier tomorrow to potentially bring up Cooper Criswell for a long relief stint? I mean, where do we go from here if Dustin May can't get through 5, Nick?
You're gonna have to. I really question these decisions that were made. It just doesn't make any sense, Jim. I think they're trying to go, what, day by day? And that is just a recipe of disaster. You gotta get some guys up with length and have a track record. I just don't understand what they're holding back in Worcester for. Bring up the people that can make your team better. Christian Campbell should be here. Password should be here. Criswell should be here. And Bernardino should be here. Bare minimum at least 4, if not 5 with Grissom. Get him up here and ignite some spark and life into this team. Just, you got to do it.
I just can't for the life of me understand why Brennan Bernardino, and okay, maybe he's got options, but do you wanna put out the best players that you possibly can on your roster to potentially win the most ball games that you can each and every season? Or is this just all about some sort of analytics crap that they're trying to spin in some fashion? Because, I mean, let's face it, all right, Steve Matz is a decent pitcher, but where on God's green earth do you decide that you're going to keep Chris Murphy over Brennan Bernardino, who's coming back off an injury? Okay, fine. When he first came back, he had low leverage situations and he looked pretty good. Then Cora starts putting him into some high leverage situations, and he's turning into a bowl of oatmeal again. So I don't understand the point here in not having Bernardino, who you have relied on and who has saved your ass, Alex Cora, in basically the first 3 or 4 months of the season. I mean, there were
Mhm.
times that that guy had to work back-to-back games, I think, just to be able to kinda get this team through some sort of grudge match, terrible start from, whether it was Giolito or whoever during that period of time, and it's just been, it's a slap in the face to that guy. You're basically saying that this Giovanni Moran and guys like whoever else, the guy that they just, brought down, Chris Murphy or anybody else, I just don't get it. I don't know why they have to keep playing this roulette game of gutless bums and not just have the best pitching staff and the best 26 guys up here, Nick. I really can't for the life of me understand it.
I think it's analytical, Jim. I think that's what this is driven by. I think they're playing matchups and they're trying to figure out what things look like with everybody on Worcester, and they have printouts and algorithms and all this nerdy information that we're not seeing, I guess, at times. And you know how I would be. I'd light a match right now and torch it and throw it in my fire pit. It's just how I am. I don't give a crap on that. I care about winning. I care about putting the best product on the field, not about how many balls this one's thrown in the dirt or how many elevated balls this one's throwing hitting in the air. I'm so done with it. I'm just done. It is ruining this franchise, ruining it. And it just drives me insane. I had a field day on X Twitter tonight with some of you imbeciles that want to come at me and you want to say, oh, it's okay. They're playing the best team out there. They're on the road. We're 11 games over 500 at the time. Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay to lose one. How is that acceptable? How? We have gone from championship city to pitiful mediocrity, and we've accepted it. Grow the F up, fan base.
Yeah.
Where is the passion? Where is the desire? Where is the heart? Under what circumstances is that acceptable tonight to lose that ball game? And
Yeah.
another one of our buddies came at me because I said early on when Roman Anthony struck out and they have this giant shift on him when he's up at the plate. I said in my tweet, I said in our room, look at how much space he has down the left field side. Drop it down there. I'm not saying a bunt. I'm saying hit it the other way. And someone comes at me and goes, ha ha ha, how can you dare say something about Roman Anthony? Be a team player. Know the moment. Know your situation. Know where your team is at. Put the ball in play and hit it where they aren't. I don't know how many more times I gotta stress it and say it, but you people need a slap of reality in you.
I mean, look, I love Roman Anthony as much as the next guy, but I mean, if people are going to make mistakes, then they got to be criticized. That's the bottom line. And again, talk about, the fact that we don't have the typical shifts anymore. There was a situation when Carlos Correa was up tonight and he wound up having a hit between first and second base. And if the second baseman, Gonzalez, was playing in his normal position at second, he would have had that ball. And instead, it's a RBI double or RBI single for Carlos Correa. And so this is, again, it's the analytics, it's core overthinking things, and this is what leads to these small little issues. And again, when you lose by 1 run, you could start really criticizing every little thing down to some minute level. And that's just one example that I have for you is the Correa at bat. If Gonzalez is playing normal second base position, he gets that ball, Correa's out, and you stop the bleeding right then and there. But that's not what happened. But a lot of people don't see those kind of plays, Nick, because they're too enamored with too many big things that they walk over dollars to pick up dimes, and that's the bigger issue with the fan base and so forth. I mean, I commented on Milliken one day because he's like, "Oh, I'm happy we won 2. It's okay if we lose the Framber
I remember.
Valdez start last weekend." And I'm like, Would you stop living in this mediocrityville? Go for the jugular, okay? No mercy, you know? I mean, if someone is gonna give you 2 games, you put the foot on the gas and you try to win all 3. I don't understand this kinda logic behind some of these younger guys. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You mean you tell me that the players are thinking the same thing? Like, well, we won two. Let's just kind of like,
Cora
pussyfoot.
is.
Yeah,
Cora
Cora is.
is.
Cora
Mhm.
is. He will, and I wouldn't be surprised too.
"Ah,
that-
it's a long season, we'll get him tomorrow, we'll take one. I'm
Yeah.
sick of it."
I'm waiting for the getaway game to see what that lineup is gonna be like, because that's gonna be a pisser to begin with. But that's my problem with him, and again, bringing up some of the points that they talked about today, with our chat there from Boston Maniacs. Jordan Hicks, that's the first guy out of the bullpen you're gonna bring in. The guy who should have been DFA'd already, but won't because he's the lone representative
That's
for the
why I
Devers.
needed to go to the bottle.
I mean, I don't understand it. This guy is not gonna get DFA'd, and he should be, because he's your lone representative right now for the Devers trade, and he is just god awful. You mean to tell me he's a better option than Brennan Bernardino? I don't care righty or lefty. It doesn't matter. The guy can throw 100 miles an hour. He's got a gifted arm, but he can't pitch. He has no freaking idea where that ball is going, and when he gets it over the plate, it's a cookie every time. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, you're throwing away a perfectly good game in the middle innings by bringing in a guy like that. Hasn't Cora or management understood or learned that by now?
You would think, but they're so stubborn and inept with what they wanna do and preach with their philosophy on everything that they're just gonna go slap their butts, "Oh, go get him next time. It's okay. Suck it up, buttercup. We'll go next game, and you'll be fine. We'll get him back on track." These guys are good, Jim. They're good.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you wonder and you start wondering. One of the other things I wanna kinda just switch gears from kinda like the baseball diamond side of things. This was an interesting thing that happened today. I don't know, I'm sure you saw it. I think it's the first time that it's been released today. It was on Twitter, and I even looked at it in some of the news outlets. But Alex Bregman apparently has been in negotiations with Sam Adams to introduce his own line of beer. So, introducing Bregman's beer, the only pale ale that hits harder and goes down smoother than his swing off the Green Monster. It's the perfect drink if you like your beer like you like your ALL standings, refreshing at first, but bitter by October. So, what do you make of this, Nick? My initial reaction when I sent this in our situation room was that how is it possible Alex Bregman, who has an opt out at the end of this season, and there's a lot of chatter about wanting to bring him back, obviously, and what it would take, and if he'd be willing to sign that extension early. What does this tell you about him possibly even leaving at the end of this season? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to kind of do this endorsement and create this situation. No? Am I wrong?
It's August right now. That means you have September and October. And this commercial just came out here in the early beginnings of August for a guy who is unknown on what's happening with his future here in Boston. If there isn't anything that screams this guy's going to be here long term, I don't know what else does. You know that old saying where you got to follow the real estate, you got to follow all these different tracks and where these players are going and whatnot. Jim, we got to follow the bear. Follow the bear.
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, the
He's
first
here.
thing.
He wants to be here. That's what this tells me. That's what this screams. He wouldn't be doing an endorsement like this for the city and making his own stuff if he didn't believe and wanted to be here. So that's definitely some positive action there. Actions speak louder than words is the old thing, and you have to get something obviously pen to paper to make anything come to a deal of sorts. But that to me is something that says he wants Boston, and it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's a Sam Adams product, right? So it's not just about Bregman's beer, it's the fact that it's a Boston-based beer, I mean, you gotta
Yeah.
read between the lines a little bit. And look, I mean, we've talked about this in the podcast earlier this season, and probably was just about a week or 2 ago, that the Red Sox need Bregman more than Bregman needs the Red Sox. At this point, where do you turn if you don't bring him back? You have no third baseman, you shipped him off to the San Francisco Giants. At this point, you don't have anybody to turn to but Abraham Toro and maybe Marcelo Mayer if you don't wind up trading him in the offseason. And we talked that about before. We said that if the Red Sox do bring back Alex Bregman, it's very possible that Mayer is a trade chip in this offseason, and maybe you can use him to kind of rekindle those talks for Joe Ryan. I mean, I don't know. It's certainly a possibility. I
If
wanted
healthy.
I want to just kind of like recap what's going to be happening for the rest of this series. Obviously, we have Dustin May against Spencer Arrighetti tomorrow. And then in the final game, we have Walker Buehler against Hunter Brown. Nick, I'm not feeling good about the rest of this series at all. Do you think we can even salvage one game at this point?
Nope. Nope. I said it. I'm gonna repeat what I said last night. I was very nervous about this upcoming trip. I thought that it was gonna be a tough battle against the Padres. I was very surprised again, and this is exactly what I said. I was very surprised that we got to Pavetta on the Friday night game, and Giolito and Bayo put up the stinkers. We expected this to be a win tonight. Didn't go our way. And now the other two, which I expected a loss of May, and I think you expected a loss of Bueller. So that would be a 1-5 trip, Jim, if that is the case. And if people like mediocrity, I'm sure they're thrilled because that's your cream of the best teams, your Astros and your Padres. So those mediocrity people, oh, that's okay. Those teams are just so good. You just got to chalk it up to they had a better run. That's what they'll say. To me, I'm frustrated because you had a trade deadline, you had every opportunity to go and improve this team, and you didn't. You know what's really helping this team right now? Because to me, this is flawed magic, is what I want to define here tonight. The Red Sox are flawed magic, and here's what I mean by that. You beat up on the Rockies, you beat up on the Nationals, you took 4 from the Rays. If you take those away, you're under 500.
Yeah, I was about
If you haven't beat up on those teams, you're nothing. You're not 10 games over 500. You're not. You're a joke. You're right back to average, mediocre 500 Red Sox baseball on how it's been since 2019.
Yeah, you took my take. That was the next exact thing I was gonna say, so and that's okay, but, that's what I was gonna say. You take out that Rockies series again, folks, you take out that Nationals, series, and you take out that Tampa Bay series, and you are a 500 club. So, that's the difference as te because they are 65 and 55 as we speak now, 10 games over 500. That's the difference maker right there. And the other part about it is too, Nick, you can actually look at it from this standpoint. Garrett Crochet, if you take him off this rotation, they are a 500 club as well, or just about close to it.
Probably under.
He's made you a playoff team, and those 10 games made you a playoff team. And that's how fast this can change. So I don't have a lot of faith for tomorrow. I just don't have a lot of faith in Dustin May, and it's really telling, Nick, too, that when you acquire a guy at at a trade deadline and you have no interest in seeing him play, that's not
I've had
really a
none.
that's not really a good thing. Houston Astros, I mean, Correa had a great welcome back from the fans tonight and so forth, and he contributed, and he's been hitting at a 400 clip since he's been back with the Astros. So, don't tell me that players can just kind of fizzle out. When you go and you acquire someone that wants to be somewhere else, and when his situation, he's moving from a team that's in a fire sale to one that is, got World Series aspirations. I'm telling you, it ignites some of these guys, and it gets them to play better and smarter, and they have a revived interest in their play. So with that said, I have no interest in Dustin May tomorrow, and I have no faith in him. And Walker Bueller, I think the issue here is that he could come out and have a pretty decent start, a quality start, Nick, but I just think that Brown is going to shove on Wednesday, and we're going to be in trouble. After that series, though, we do have Miami coming in. They have looked better in the second half. And then it's Baltimore, New York, Baltimore, Pittsburgh to finish off the month. So, if you want to consider the Orioles to be a substandard team, if you want to talk about the New York Yankees not being the Yankees that we expected them to be this season, but are still some team that you have to be cautious about because it is in Yankee Stadium. And then, of course, Miami, who, you should do pretty well against. I would say, all in all, the rest of the month after the Houston series is a little softer than we've seen at the end of July and early August.
Yeah, we're really grateful that Aaron Judge is hurt, I have to say, and the Yankees bullpen, their dominance of bullpen trade deadline acquisitions have been a colossal failure. Hopefully that continues. So that gives us a little bit of hope there because the Yankees just don't scare me. So yes, I would say it does get easier the rest of the month on figuring things out, but we all know when we say it's easier and the team just doesn't show up and play and take care of business, that's when they get into trouble. They took care of business when they beat up on the Rockies and the Nationals and the Rays before the All-Star break and everything there. So they would need to do that. But that also leaves me with how is this team going to do, God willing, they even make the playoffs and they go up against tough competition, because that scares the crap out of me too. I don't think we're good enough.
Yeah, I worry about that as well. One interesting fact here, if you look at the month of September, just to kind of recap what the future looks like, you are facing the Cleveland Guardians at home. They are a plus 500 team, but then you face 3 against Arizona, who have a losing record. You face the Athletics, who have a losing record. You come home to face the Yankees, who have a winning record, the Athletics, who have a losing record. Then it's Tampa Bay at Tampa with a losing record, and then finishing with Toronto and Detroit. So you have one, two, three, four series against 500 or better teams for the entire month of September. And
Mm.
scary part here, Nick, is we finished the season with a 3-game series at Toronto and then 3 at home against Detroit. And that means that you've got some stiff competition in those last 6 games of the year, and I worry that some of these games that they lost by stupidity throughout the season is gonna come back to bite them, and I have this argument, Nick, every April where people say, yeah, it's just a long season, don't worry about it," and I say, "You know what? It
Yep.
counts the same in August, counts the same in April, it counts the same in September." And those are the morons that, don't realize what that even means. So mark my words. I mean, we'll be talking and we'll be having podcasts obviously up until the end of the year here, but keep this in mind. August 11th, I said it first. Let's be very cautious about that last week of baseball because some teams have the luxury of taking the foot off the gas. I would say if you're lucky, you better hope that Detroit runs away with that division. And then maybe the last 3 games, they just have their B lineup going because you're going to need potentially to be in a situation where you might need to take 2 out of 3 just to qualify for a 3rd wild card, and that's no kidding.
Want to know how many one-run losses the Red Sox have in the season right now?
77.
Yeah, feels that way. How many?
It's gotta be a pretty alarming number. If you look at the
Tonight's
second
another
half,
one.
they have 1,
17.
17,
17.
17.
And
So
that
if
right there is a prime example of your point with the end of the season. So those 17 losses, that counts tonight as well as one of them, that you could have at least taken, say, half of those. Say their wins. You wouldn't have to have this conversation about the last week of the season against the Blue Jays and the Tigers. That is how bad it's been in one-run games for this team. And I'm here, sitting here, trying to believe, wanting to get to the playoffs, wanting to get to that next step. When I see that stat that's right there, and I said it many times, the only stat that I truly care about is the wins. Well, that right there is one of those. And I look at the 17 losses there, and I'm trying to get some of those to be wins. and you didn't because you didn't manufacture runs. You don't score in you don't know how to win in extra innings. That's another thing. It's very tough. So, all I'm saying here is that sitting here right now, I remember we've had similar conversations over the years at this stage, at this point in the season. It still feels like deja vu to me right now. It still does. As great as they've done on some occasions this season, the back of my mind is just saying, get overhyped. Don't overdo it with them because you don't want to get disappointed like you've been since 2019. So that's where I'm at in the back of my mind here. So all the people that want to throw a party about, well, if the season ended right now, we're in the wild card and we have I am not at that stage, Jim. I am not. I will not be. You got to prove it here. They need to prove it.
So the Red Sox in the second half of this season are 12-10. Okay. So you're basically 500 team since we started playing baseball again after the All-Star break. It's not really great. The other part of it, and I know there was some stiff competition, but people like to use that as an excuse, Nick. The reality is that if you've got playoff aspirations, you've got to be able to do well against those teams. And the other thing that I want to mention with the 17-1 run losses that you had talked about earlier, like you said, if you won half of those, even if you were 8-9, Nick, you are now put 8 more wins on that team. You
You
are
have the division.
you're challenging the Milwaukee Brewers for the best record in baseball.
What?
That's what you're
Mhm.
doing. So, this is what's so frustrating about this team because if they don't make the playoffs or they're out by a game, you're gonna look back at a lot of these and say, here's a classic example of how the crap goes wrong yet again, and it's all based on roster configuration. That's what it is, and there's gonna have to be some blowback. So, we'll see how it goes. Any final takes or things that you wanna mention, Nick, before we end for tonight?
Curious to see what they do for roster moves tomorrow. I am. I think that there will be something. I don't know what it is. I don't think they can keep Jordan Hicks out there anymore. So I'm curious to see if this is going to continue or they're going to do a mystery IL stint with him. But you can't keep doing this. You can't. You can't. So that's one move I'd look at. I don't think they do anything with Toro because Toro hit a home run, so Alex Cora is going to put him on a pedestal, so he'll be in the lineup tomorrow. You'll probably see Yoshida in the lineup tomorrow, I have to say. I know that you'll probably not have any sleep after me saying that now. Um, I don't have faith, fans. Don't not tomorrow and not Wednesday. I think it's going to be a sweepage from the Astros. I think they're gonna take their broomsticks and do it do it to the Red Sox as the Red Sox did it to the Astros last week. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, see, here's the problem. I wish the matchup was a little bit better. I wish it was Bueller against Arrighetti, to be honest with you, because I have no faith in them winning the Brown game. So that would have been the game that I would have matched Dustin May up with because I would have figured that doesn't look great,
It's a throwaway.
for the Red Sox anyway. Arrighetti has not been good this year. He's 1-2 with a 7.43 and a whip about 1.5. They have a really good opportunity to win that game. I just don't think they're going to have the pitching available to actually pull it off tomorrow. So, but I agree with you. I think the Red Sox need to do a DFA or a phantom IL, or if I don't know if Jordan Hicks, he's been around too long to have any kind of options, I think. So, but they've got to do something with him. He's not going to be available tomorrow anyway. So they should do something and try to find a way to get Bernardino or get on this major league roster tomorrow. So that's my final take as well. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on this late night tonight. Nick, thanks for joining me. And definitely go ahead and subscribe to our digital newsletter at redsoxdigest.com, where we have a subscription about the daily rants for the Red Sox. I write something just about every day on the game before, and Thayer has his Fenway flashback where he is recapping the 1975 Red Sox season. With all that being said, we will see you on Wednesday night unless something major happens tomorrow, which we don't anticipate, but you never know with the Old Town team. So have a good night, everybody, and we will see you on Wednesday.